Good morning, everybody. Steve Petrato here, Mr. James Haley with me today, and we're going to talk a little bit about our new announcement yesterday, the new Blade 270 Fusion. And as you guys are joining, please send us your questions, and we'll try to answer them as quickly as we can. But while we're getting those questions, I've got my phone here ready to go. While we're getting those, let's jump through. James, let's start off on the new 270. Let's talk about kind of why we did this. I mean, we had a 270 prior, and this new Fusion series. Let's really just tell people what the new Fusion series will be.
Yeah, so obviously there's a series, so there's more to come, which will be fun. But we'll start with the 270. So last year the 270 went away, and we found that when we got rid of it, there was a price point that really made the model move. So what we tried to do is make sure that we could keep it at that price point and create a good value for the product. So what we've done here is gone to an all new model. So it keeps the 270 name, but there's nothing that's even the same on it anymore, really. It's very similar in looks and size, but it's all new.
Yeah, so I mean, the Fusion is really this collection of all the knowledge we gained, whether it's the pricing information we got from the market, from you guys saying, hey, we would buy it at this price, but not that price. Also, the quality and looks of this model, in addition to the performance and the flight characteristics. We've made some updates to the flight controller. We've made some updates to the look of the head and actually to the grips. We made updates to the carbon fiber on it, the landing gear, the tail case. So many updates that make this model all new. It really is exciting. So I guess I just want to jump in. So if we get a good shot of this this rotor head here, you guys can see that it has it's black anodized, which is a really nice look for it. It's got secondary machining, so it's got that nice silver outline, and it even has the kind of the zeroing marks for when you're setting up your heli on the top of the rotor grips. Yeah,
so we've changed the geometry on the blade grip for one, so that gives it a lot better performance for the 636. There was too much servo movement going on in the prior model to kind of give it a good feel. It was overdriving the head a lot, so that's cleaned up. It gives a lot better performance, a lot snappier feel. Like Steve mentioned, that it has the 0 point for 0 degrees for leveling the swash, and the 0 degrees on the head. That just makes setup a little easier. You can also, even if you need to adjust pitch lengths, super easy right there.
Yeah.
Like you said, the black anodizing just cleaned up the look a little bit, makes it a little bit more sleek with the secondary machining. But overall, the head is roughly the same as the old one. So if you have an old one, these new grips will fit on your old model as well. So if you want to get to the new head geometry, drops right on there. Makes it a big benefit.
Yeah. So and then from the head, let's move down. I haven't seen any questions pop up, so we'll keep talking. But the optimized servo geometry remains the same. I mean, it's that patented setup that we had on our larger machines. We've had it on the 360, the 180, the 270, of course, and really. Just explain to people what that does. And I know I've said it several times before, but just for the guys tuning in, what does optimized servo geometry really mean?
Yeah, so ideally, obviously the swash plate, when you're moving a servo, it's on a rotation. So what you want to do ideally is always have the servo moving in parallel, so they're always staying in the most perfect alignment as possible.
Right.
If they're off, obviously there's a rotation. You get some different changing and phasing and that kind of thing.
Right, interference or interactions that you don't want. You give aileron, it provides a little bit of elevator. You really don't want that. Granted, the Flybro system will fix that, but you don't want the machine having to account for that.
The best mechanical advantages that you can have. Right. Also, the longer the servo push rod is here, that gives you a more momentum advantage on the servo. So keeps it straighter, keeps everything, a better mechanical advantage.
Sure. So, all right, well, moving from that, let's just keep going down the helicopter here. We've got a different helicool main gear, right?
Yeah, so we've thickened up the main gear, made it a lot quieter. Gets a little bit of the gear noise out of it just being thicker. It's a new black material that'll also increase the strength. So overall, it's a lot better main gear. We'll drop into the old models as well, so if you need to update your main gear, you can certainly do that.
Yeah, that's one thing I think we can mention now is really if you guys are 270 CFX owners and you want to upgrade or update your model, a lot of this stuff will transfer over.
Yes.
You can rebuild, the head is the same, so if you don't need to change it out to all black, you can drop it into the new frame, drop in the new main gear, drop in the new tail case, and we can talk about that in a minute. But you can upgrade your 270 to this look if you like the design of it. You can definitely do that. So as we continue the discussion here, let's just drop down to the speed control.
Yeah.
So this is a 45 amp brushless speed control, obviously, but it does have a governor, right?
Yeah. So it's the same ESC that's in the 360 CFX 3S.
Okay.
So it's got a brushless governor in it. It's very simple to use. You just basically make a flat curve and adjust that up or down depending on what you want your head speed to be. Okay. So you don't have to go in and set up anything inside of it. No additional software needed. So if you change pinion or motors or anything like that, you can just simply scale that throttle curve as needed. So it's great. So if you want a little higher head speed, just bump that curve up. If you want it to go a little lower, drop it down. It makes it really convenient.
And for those of you that don't really understand what a governor really means, I mean, can you explain a little bit about that? I mean, obviously, when you're changing the model's action in the air, the rotor head will spit up or spool down based on physics.
So as you increase the pitch of the blades, obviously there's more drag on the power system. So with a governor, you would say, I want 3,000 RPMs on the head, for example, just to throw out a number. You would want that number to stay the same. So if you load up the pitch of the blades and increase the drag, the motor would increase its power and RPM to match and maintain that. Now, say you're diving the model and you're increasing the RPM, you would want the motor to back off power so it doesn't overspeed it as much.
Right.
So the governor is just maintaining like a cruise control in your car for the rotor blades.
Yeah, that's a good way to explain it. It's basically cruise control for the rotor blades. All right, so that's the speed control. So then the landing gear, as we just keep going down here, the landing gear, you guys will notice is they're highlighted basically in the same color as our Canopy. This is a really high-vis model. We've gone away from the white plastic landing gear to now a carbon fiber model. So, or a carbon fiber landing gear. So you can see this it's very rigid. I've seen you tap the ground with them, and they're really durable. They're breakaway design so that they won't break the frame. They have another mount there, and they're just really nice. I love the look of it. The stance of the model is more aggressive now. You can see the one on our right or your left, but that's just the stance of it is really nice. So I don't know. There's nothing really much else to say about landing gear there.
Yeah, and it's all personal preference.
Yeah.
I personally like different landing gear, but I've been convinced.
Well, it also, for you guys learning, landing stuff in taller grass, you guys can notice I can stick my hand almost underneath this tail blade, this tail fin, and it's really off the grass. And if I even put the tail blades, you can see there's almost a ½ inch below that tail blade. So if you're coming in the grass, even thick grass, you're not going to buzz that grass. Even though it is a belt drive tail, we don't have to worry about the tail stripping out like a torque tube would, but it's off the grass. So
it just cleans everything up. It's raked forward just a few degrees, which gets the tail up out of the grass, like you said. So just makes it a little nicer for people flying in grass.
Yeah. So let's talk about the most important part of any helicopter is the Flybro system. Obviously, we use the AR 636, so that's what this is, right? This is just a new lower aluminum case. Let's talk about why we went to an aluminum case.
Yeah, so you'll see some similar systems out there, such as the Beast X, and we use an aluminum case on the bottom because it provides mass to the actual Flybro's unit. And what you want to do there is it isolates the gyro in the Flybro system away from any vibrations. Obviously, a lot of spinning parts on a helicopter, so there's some different vibrations there. High frequency from the tail, high frequency from the motor, low frequency from the rotor head. So when it's isolated on that inside that plate, it gives it just a way to isolate it away from those vibrations and give it just a cleaner response.
Yeah, just overall better performing flight controller, and on top of that, this does have our safe technology built into it, so you're going to have that panic recovery. So for those of you guys out there that you want a helicopter that's really, really nice, very agile, very performance oriented, but you know what? I'm no James Haley. I might I saw him crash on making the product video for this, but let's not talk about that. But I've seen this guy crash. But for you guys that are more mere mortals like me, you do crash. You do have a problem where you may lose orientation when you're trying a new trick. That panic recovery is a huge piece of that, where you can just press the bind button, and then the model goes right into just flat and level flight for you. Come back out of it, regain your composure, and get back to flying.
Take a breath.
Yeah, take a breath. So that panic recovery is nice. It does not have self-leveling mode, where it's just a constant self-leveling, but if you do freak out, you've got that panic recovery to save you. Let's move back. So one of the price question, let's just jump into that real quick since we're getting these questions. This one will come in, there's a ARF version and there's a bind and fly version. And remind me, the bind and fly version is going to be $350, and the ARF version is going to be $299. $269, yeah. And so, real quick on those two versions, the bind and fly version is going to be everything you see right in front of me here. The ARF version, we've actually got one sitting here. It's still going to come out of the box built. It's still going to come Okay, 259 actually. 259 for the ARF version. The ARF version will be out of the box built, but you're going to be able to add your own servos and add your own Flybro system / receiver. So if you don't want to run with our system and you like different servos and you like your own whatever, let's say you're not a Spectrum guy, heaven forbid, but let's say you're not a Spectrum guy, and you want to run your own Flybro controller, that's fine too. So we did make that model. It's a new thing for Blade, and the ARF version is pretty cool. So those are the price points, so that should answer that question. AJ asked what kind of battery, basically. He said 1550 4S. This runs on really a 1300-ish 4S.
Yeah, 1300 to 1500, anything that'll fit in the Canopy.
Yeah.
The idea behind this was the 6S battery from the previous version, granted, is the most efficient setup for power, being the higher voltage. But with the 4S, 1300 is being so popular right now. There's so many of them out there in the market from the quad world. It's a much more convenient battery to find. There's not a lot of 6S 910s, 950s out there. So, having a 4S 1300 for this size is still plenty of power. With the higher kV motor, it's running the same RPM on the head, same amount of flight time.
Right. Yeah, I think
really
a big misconception with 4S versus 6S is, oh man, they're going backwards. Why are they putting less power in the model? And guys, that's not how this really works. I mean, yeah, it's an efficiency thing, but when it comes to head speed and power, a 4S with the proper motor attached to it and the proper gear ratio, you're not going to notice a difference.
Yeah, I mean, you might notice the difference in the last 30 seconds of the pack.
Yeah.
You'll see a little bit more sagging because the voltage isn't staying as high, because the amperage is a little higher. But for this size model, small park, at the field, it's a perfect, that battery's perfect. Works just fine.
So let's jump back into the helicopter. So back to the tail now, and I'm going to spin this around so they can get a better shot here. But the tail case is all new, right?
Yeah, so it looks very similar to the old one, but I can promise you it's all new. So what we've done there used to be, we had some vibration issues in the previous models that, we were always trying to track down. They worked, but just always had a little bit of a hum or something that we were trying to get out of them. So what we've done is gone to a new, larger bearing on the tail shaft. So that gets, to a larger ball. Everything's more efficient and mechanically better with a larger bearing. Tail shaft is still the same size. The other thing we also did is we closed up the tail case. So
yeah, I noticed that. If you compare the old one to the new one, you can see the belt in the old one, and now you have a fully
the belt.
closed.
The previous one had, you could check belt tension, but really you can do that just up front as easy. But also it keeps the boom from becoming a big microphone, amplifying the noise. Obviously, that's a issue. Is it's a big tube with a spinning part through it and high, a shaft on each side spinning, so it resonates a lot of noise.
Yeah.
So it cleans up that noise as well. Also, there's a lot more support internally for the bearings, just to quiet everything up and keep everything stronger. The nice thing is, fits on your old models as well. So any 360 or 270, you can get this tail case and drop it in there with the bearings, and you're good to go.
Yeah, definitely an improvement there. All right. One question I saw here: any telemetry signals from this model?
So yeah, that's one thing that we haven't hit on a lot, which we'll have a video on separately. Is you'll get receiver voltage, which is the BEC voltage, so not super beneficial there.
Right.
But if you had a separate battery, it would be. You get RF, so fades and holds, so your RF performance there. The other cool thing is text gen. So it's similar to forward programming. So say you want to do swash centering, servo setup. You can also do gyro gain adjustments for the cyclic and everything from your radio in this menu. So it gives you PIDs and gains for everything. So tail, cyclic. Also, there's some boosts that you can adjust for the cyclic feel. So that's all in the radio. It comes directly to the radio on the screen. Works with any of the DX and IX series.
Any G2 radio, basically, and the IX12 that we got sitting here. And I don't have this one bound to any model. We don't have a battery on these, but we can do a video on that later for you guys if you're really interested in that. I think we should do it anyway. But yeah, it's super cool to have all that data back to your radio, not just voltage of the model, which you set a timer for 4 minutes, you're flying for 4 minutes on a helicopter. It's pretty standard, but for having all those adjustments for your Flybro system, rather than having to plug it into a computer or pull out your phone, you just go right on your radio, scroll through, and adjust those options. Is really nice. Let's see. Is it fast enough to chase birds away? Absolutely. Speaking of speed, we did some high-speed passes on the video. I think, what are we doing? Probably, in a fast-forward flight, probably closer to 60.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty quick.
It's a safe number. Yeah, it looks fast. Obviously with a smaller model, it's going to look faster than probably what it actually is. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let me see if I have any more questions here. Do you have any more control options with the iX12? Well, James really talked about the text gen stuff and how that's going to be fed back, but not necessarily more control options. It's just more of a setup thing. There's really nothing specific about heli programming that the 12 can do. I can't really think of anything. Can you?
Yeah, not specific to the AR636, but say on the ARC version, if you're running MSH Brain or anything like that, or your BeastX that has a Bluetooth variant, you can run those apps in the iX12 for programming. So
BeastX.
Yep, BeastX or MSH Brain are two big advantages there. I've been flying the Brain on there, and it works really well. You can go in there, open the app on the Bluetooth variant, and change any setting right there at the field. Don't have to pull out your laptop or anything else. Makes it really nice.
What's the flight time in 3D mode?
So it depends. So you can just be hovering and idle 2 and get 4 minutes pretty easily. My flight time's usually 3.5 to 4 minutes. Is the safe number. If it's colder out, the batteries are colder.
Sure.
It's a little shorter time. Just depends on how you fly it that day. So I'd say 3 to 4 minutes is pretty safe. If you're in normal mode, just wanting to kind of putt around, some simple forward flight, sport flying, I could see upwards of 5 minutes pretty easily on the model.
Yeah. I don't know if you have this on top of your head, the overall motor specs. I'm not really sure what exactly you're looking for there. This is the same motor we had in the current 270?
Yeah, so it's the same size motor. I don't remember the kV right off the top of my head. It's about an extra 900 to 1,000 kV higher going from the 4S to the 4S. Yeah. So the nice thing is, if you want 6S, you can drop the old motor in there, or fit any other aftermarket motor that might fit in there as well.
Yeah. And then lastly, I guess we can jump to the Canopy has 2 posts now. I don't know if that matters to a lot of people. It matters to me. So the Canopy, if you guys look at if you get a close-up of this version, the Canopy is fiberglass, obviously, so we didn't really talk about that. It's got this awesome, bright, vivid scheme on it. And if you notice on the Canopy, it's got 2 grommets and 2 posts there. The production one will have black posts, right? Like the one that's sitting here to my left. The one that you got a picture of the Canopy there has 2 posts, so the Canopy just does not go anywhere. It's locked onto that model.
Yeah, it doesn't, get
Up or
rubbed
down
up.
motion, or it doesn't scratch on the carbon. It's just rock solid in place. Really finishes the model off. All right, let's see if we have any more. How long does it take to recharge the battery? Well, it depends on the charger you have, really. I mean, we're charging these things at 5 amps typically.
Yeah,
I would recommend less.
most batteries today have a 3C charge rate, so you're looking at 20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes sounds good to me. Let's see if I have any more questions here. Yeah, for you guys that don't love the flight times of helicopters, if you can find new LiPo technology, Horizon Hobby would love to know that. But really, in the world of lithium polymer right now, that's it. I mean, you with a model putting out this much energy or requiring this much energy to fly, whether it's a 700 size heli or a 270 size heli, flight times are pretty much the same. It's just the energy density of batteries just hasn't gotten better yet. One day it will, and one day we'll have longer flight times. But again, like James said, if you want longer flight times, if you just require that 5-6 minute flight times, fly without the Canopy, put a little bit bigger battery on, fly lower.
We're going to be safe on the adjustment, obviously. I mean, depending on the RPM you run and then your flying style, flight time, on mini helis could be double. It just depends on how you fly it.
Yeah. And I'm going to bring this question up as much as I don't want to answer it, but I think we should. Brandon says, why have you gone away with the 500 and upsize helis? I love my 550X. I think this is a question we get quite a bit on the forums, a question I get at shows all the time, and really is, the direction of Blade has always been to provide a convenience platform, to provide something that's performance-oriented out of the box, but isn't necessarily something that is the top-end, highest, build-it-yourself, custom model, and really our bread and butter is developing convenience models. That's not to say we won't make bigger models in the future. We probably will never get back up to that 700 size again, but our brand is centered around this convenience platform. Pull it out of the box, go fly. We're all about fun. We want to do the building for you guys, and we know there's a lot of you out there that value your time over the amount of building you do, and so that is something we're going to continue to do. We're going to continue to improve upon these models, just like an automotive manufacturer says, I've got the Ford F-150 looks different this year than it does next year, and it's got better things next year. We're going to be doing the same with these models in the future, so it's really something important for you Blade loyalists out there. The 270 chassis will remain in the lineup. It may improve as we go through the years, but we're going to keep the chassis around. Just like the 360 chassis, just like the 180 chassis, all through the heli line, we're going to maintain that. So you're not going to see this fluctuation in numbers anymore. You're going to see a solid, clear vision of where these models are going. So you can kind of say, hey, when's the new 270 coming out, rather than saying, when's the new Blade heli coming out?
Yeah.
So I think that's an important piece of that, just to kind of talk about that. Is there any way to make the Blade 120 STL motor last longer? Well, guys, that's a whole nother tech talk. We're going to focus on the 270, but yeah, I don't have an answer for that right now. That one, unfortunately, it is a brushed motor spinning really fast, so it's kind of hard to make it last a little longer. All right, some of these other questions are jokes, I know, so thank you for those. How waterproof is it? I know it's going to end up in a pond. It's not waterproof.
I've only put one heli in the water.
I've seen James go for a swim before.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, that is all the questions I see. So later today on the Blade Helis page, the Facebook page, we're going to do a flight contest, or kind of a, you guys call the trick shots, and James is going to fly this. So look for that after lunch today. We're going to probably grab lunch and then go out to the field. It's like 10 degrees outside today, so we may be bundled up, but we'll go and fly.
It'll be a good challenge.
It'll be a good challenge. But guys, tune into that on the Blade Facebook page later this afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Blade 270 Fusion. And have a great weekend, and we'll see you later. Oh, availability in March, by the way.
Yep.
Availability in
on the way.
March. So they're on the way, guys. So lastly, yeah. Thanks again, guys. Take it easy. Have a great weekend.
See you.